Hello, hello! My name is Ken. Welcome to my Fundamentals of GeoGuessr Duels series. In this series, we're taking a brand new account and we're working our way through all of the divisions in GeoGuessr, hopefully up to Master 1. I'm currently in my regular account playing in Master 2 and have a solid standing there, so hopefully I'll improve and get up to Master 1 by the time we get to the end of this, and we'll be able to lead some of you all the way to the promised land there. So this is the third episode. What we did is we started with just identifying the continents, and we started slowly breaking them down. In the last episode, we broke down Asia a little bit, and what kind of the idea here is to let our competition kind of dictate what areas we need to focus on. So in the very first episode, there was one game where we lost to an opponent who was able to identify 3 specific countries, and our continent guess just wasn't good enough. So the 3 countries were South Africa, the UK, and then Mexico. We talked about South Africa in the last episode. We also talked about, I think, India. And Japan, but did we? Yeah, we did. We did all those. So today we need to talk about. Let's start with the UK and Mexico. So UK. Let me bring up an example here. One of the first things that you'll notice about the UK is that they drive on the wrong side of the road, and whatever you tell them, they insist on driving on the left. So that is the first indication that. So when you see Europe and you see cars driving on the wrong side of the road, that's a good indication that you're going to be at least in the British Isles. So I maybe got ahead of myself here. So again, we're still looking for the European clues. So we go here, we look for a long plate. We're going to look in the sky and see that the sun is in the south. So there's a compass there. And then we look and we say, oh, they're not driving on the right side of the road. And that is probably your first clue that you're going to be in the British Isles. So one of the things that we're doing is we're kind of breaking down by country and region. I think the British Isles is a pretty good region. So if you aren't sure if we're in Ireland or UK, hopefully by the end of this explanation you'll have a good way to guess. But you can just guess in the middle. That's a great guess. But yeah, so right now we're looking at a UK example. The other thing about UK is in the back of their cars they have yellow license plates, but yet in the front they have white. So that's a pretty distinctive thing. One place where you can get confused is in Amsterdam, where they have all yellow plates, the long plates, and but remember, in Amsterdam, they will also have the yellow ones in the front as well. So, and actually, this drop looks very, very similar to many Amsterdam locations with these red bricks. But yeah, what else do I want to say about this screenshot? Probably not too much here. Let's take a look at London. Oh, the other thing we should be looking for is language. So. Here we can see we're talking about English, so they speak English in England, surprise. And there were a couple other things I wanted to show you here too. Let me think about this. I don't think I'm in the location I wanted to be in. I don't think I saved it. But let me click around the corner and hopefully, here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. So yes, we're in the middle of London, but throughout England, you're going to see these dividers, or these bollards, I guess, and they have the blue circle with the arrow and then yellow. Some of them will look a little bit different. We'll look at that in the Plonket guide in a second, but that's a good indication that you're in England. I think I mentioned in the last episode, we're going to be learning a lot of bollards, so here's number 2. And then, yeah, if you can't figure out you're in England from this sign, then maybe we need to go back to junior high. I don't know. That's probably a little mean, but Charles Dickens. Hopefully you've read something of his. And then what else to say about this? I guess sometimes you can see these yellow lines on the outside. We're actually going to see that when we look at Ireland. So in Ireland, very similar to the UK, except you're going to see white plates in the front and in the back. And of course, they drive on the left as well, and if you pay attention to the road lines, you can see that if you are coming up to this intersection, they have the stop line here on the left, which is going to be awkward if you're trying to drive on the right. So that is there. I also wanted to show you some, that's not a good example. I think there's a sign over here with multiple languages. So in Ireland, they do have a Irish, I think, and you can kind of see it here. So in the italics up top, they have the Irish, and then in just all capitals, they have English, and that's pretty common throughout Ireland. Oh, actually, this road sign will show it as well, I think. We can get over here. There we go. So we have the Irish up here and the English down below, and the Irish is in italics. The other place where in the British Isles where you'll see similar is in Wales, where you'll see Welsh language, and the distinction there is Welsh words tend to have a lot of vowels stuck together. So if you're trying to distinguish those, not always easy, but that is a good way. So let's take a quick look at, we'll just look at the UK Plunkett guide. So they had the white in the front and the yellow in the back license plates. I didn't talk about, they drive on the left side, that's a big one. So the double yellow lines on the curbs in urban areas. Didn't talk about the cat's eye. I've never noticed that before. I have seen these bollards, but I think they're more rare, so don't worry about that too much. What else did I want to say about this? Here's another example of that yellow traffic bollard. And this one is surprisingly helpful in rural areas. So if you're kind of on a farm and you're looking at these gates, in the UK they have this squared off edge. In Ireland they tend to round it off. I don't know that it will be helpful this early on, especially on the urban maps that we're playing, but I have actually found that one useful. Anything else I want to mention here? I think that will get you started. So the big thing is driving on the left with the license plates, yellow in the back, white in the front. That's going to be a really strong clue that you're in Europe, but you can make a better guess in at least the British Isles or the UK. So let's take a look now at Mexico. So the trouble with Mexico is it looks so much different from the United States and Canada. I would say the US and Canada look very, very similar, but Mexico just looks different. So let's find a few clues that'll give it away. So the obvious one is in Mexico they speak Spanish. So all of the signs are going to be in Spanish. You may see English and Spanish, but always at least Spanish. Let's see, the other thing I wanted to look for is, gosh, I must have not saved my spawn point here. So these octagon poles are very common throughout Mexico, and so they're cement. Most of them are cement poles. I'll show you an example of a metal one as well. But if you're unsure, if you're looking and you're like, I'm not sure if that's what we're looking for, a lot of them have Cemex imprinted on them. So that's a strong clue that you're in Mexico. The other thing that I wanted to point out, I think the other zone is probably a better place to start here. Maybe, I remember why I didn't spawn at the beginning. No, let me close this out. Let me go to the other spawn point. Oh, okay. Let's look at this here. So the other huge indication that you are in Mexico and not in South America are the stop signs. So the stop signs in North America say alto, and in South America they say pare. So if the easy way to remember it is alto means high in like music and like mountains and that kind of stuff. So in the north you have alto, in the south you have pare. Um, the other, let's come over here because I'm pretty sure there are a few really good examples of what I wanted to show you. Oh, there was another stop sign back there. Maybe I'm getting confused. Let me go back to this one again. The other really, yeah, okay, here we go. The other really common thing that I wanted to show you are these water tanks up here. So this is very common throughout Mexico. So this one is black and this one is white. The black ones are much easier to see. Like I was able to spot that from way back here. The white ones do appear, but I just don't notice them as frequently. I think this specific area has quite a few of the white ones as well. So throughout Mexico you can see them. You can see just the top of that one. A lot of different countries use different styles of water tanks on top of their buildings. In Mexico, they're blue and they kind of look like a little kiddie pool. In like Turkey and Albania, they have these big metal tanks. So those are a few to look at there. What else did I want to say about Mexico? So we talked about the octagon poles, the stop signs, and the water tanks, and then the Spanish. So let's take a quick look at the Plunkett guide. So they mention, of course, the octagon poles. So we're still in North America, or the Americas, so we're going to have the yellow lines in the middle. I think these bollards are harder to spot. They don't have a ton of them. If we have Mexico on some of the highway markers. They mentioned the alto. Oh, this arrow is really useful. This will show up in more rural zones, but it is like these corners. In a lot of other countries, they just narrow out into a point. Here, they're just squared off, like you just had a big paintbrush. So that's a good thing to remember. They show the water tanks. I've never noticed the yellow accents, but OXXO, that's a really common gas station, and Pemex. This one is probably easier to remember than OXXO, but I guess remember there's an X in Mexico, so at least the way we spell it in the U.S. And yeah, I think those are probably the ones that you want to pay attention to. So let's go back to GeoGuessr. So we're currently sitting in 11th place in our division. I didn't expect us to stay up in the promotion zone for so long. When I checked earlier this morning, we were still at number 9, but it looks like a few people have played. We're going to play anyways to be... Oh, that's like a triple promotion zone. That must be new. Because we have promoted, we're in silver 4 right now, so promoted to silver 3, promoted to silver, that says 3 as well. That's weird. I don't know what is going on with this. Maybe they just wanted to update you as you scroll through, but we're just out of the double promotion zone, so that is good. I'm hoping that we don't gain enough points to get double promoted, because we have quite a bit to go through. But as you can see, we're doing pretty well with our rules. Oh, I wanted to show you the spots that we're going to click now. So here we are. So our Europe guess is going to stay the same. This being in the UK or Ireland, I don't think will make a huge difference. So for UK, we're going to click on Birmingham. For Ireland, we'll click middle, but slightly towards Dublin. There seems to be a little more coverage over there, so we're going to hedge a tiny bit over there. If you want to just click in the middle, that's perfectly fine too. And here for Mexico, let's click on Mexico City. Especially for the urban rounds, Mexico City shows up quite a bit. And then the U.S., so we were on the border of Kansas and Oklahoma. We've just moved that up to the northern border of Kansas. So up in the border of Nebraska and Kansas. So a few adjustments there. The other thing that I think we should start doing is if we see the name of the country on a sign, we should and all the other clues kind of match up. So like, let's say we see Germany, and like it looks like we're in Europe. Let's click on Germany or in the middle of Germany. If we're if the clues look like they are all U.S., so like we have the small plates, we have the yellow lines, and there's an Irish pub, let's not click on Ireland, but like use some discretion to kind of figure it out. That is a skill that we're going to have to learn, especially as our opponents get better and better at reading signs as well. So I think that's all I have to say in prep for this. So it was a little quick, but I wanted to get in a few games here. So let's do this thing. This person is doing well. They've played 70 games and are on at least a 5-game winning streak. Okay, so we are. It looks fairly cold. We haven't seen. Here are some cars. So we have some cars with some long license plates. I think this might be one of the countries that we're going to look at next. But we have the long license plates. It looks fairly cold. Let's just do our normal Europe guess. And it appears that our opponent is not great at this country. But he sees some Cyrillic and guesses Ukraine. Good guess, but it was Russia. So yeah, unfortunately, that's one of those countries where it is a little difficult for newer players. So I haven't done it yet. So this one says Paris. Let's look around and see if anything else matches that. So it's hard to say. These are little plates, so I think we should avoid France on this one. What else do we see here? I'm not quite sure what language that is. It looks maybe Spanish, maybe by the sign. So do you think we can find a sun? Not really. Maybe we'll click around, and there's probably a good sign to read back there. Just now we can see the sun. It is in the north, so Spanish in the north. Let's do our South America guess. Let's see if our opponent can come up with the country. Ooh, we found a flag. And they're going with Lima. And whew, they were right on top of that. So that's going to be the game there. We're going to say good game to them. Yeah, we're not going to win them all by guessing the middle of the continent. But I think that's not really the point here. The point is to learn the basics, figure out which continent we're on, and if we are in a specific region, maybe guess that. But the point of the channel is not to own the noobs. So let's just go ahead and do the next round. This person's from Brazil. Okay, we have yellow center lines, and this bollard here, but look at the license plate. So the license plates are clearly longer, so those yellow lines they don't always indicate the US. We have those cool looking bollards. We have, yeah, it's not very tropical, I would say. I doesn't look extremely cold, but maybe it is. There's no trees over there. I think this is a safe Europe bet with those long plates. And they go up in Estonia. I think that was a halfway decent guess. Those yellow lines are fairly common in Norway, so that is one of the... I guess I never talked about lines really for Europe, so let's look at this. So sun is in the south. We have all white lines, and I'm having a tricky time coming up with this. This does look like that bollard that I said wasn't very useful in Mexico. Maybe it will be useful here. So sun is in the south. Yeah, I don't have... we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. These rounds are going to be really tough for everybody. So looks like our opponent guessed. We'll guess Mexico. They're guessing Indonesia. I don't think that's a terrible guess. That white sand that we saw is common up in the Yucatan. We'll take a look at this game after. Okay, so we have a people with black skin. We do have a unique car. And let's see if we can find any other information here. It is in English, so I'm going to say we're in Africa. So we'll do our Africa guess. We are going to be off, but let's see if our opponent knows. So that was a very unique meta. So we talked about meta in the previous episode with the car. And I told you to treat those Central African countries as unique situations, and so far we haven't had an issue with it. So we can hold off on learning them for now. So we have long license plates. We have interesting, Vegas.hu. So if we knew our domain names, that might be helpful to us. But I don't want to bog you down with a lot of that stuff. And yeah, so long license plates, sun is going to be in the south. I think we can click here in Europe, and I don't think that'll be such a bad guess, but our opponent did get the country, so HU is Hungary. But they did a little bit of damage, but we're still very much in the game, just clicking in the middle of Europe. Okay, we have pretty tropical. Let's see if we can figure out the language here. That looks Spanish to me. Alto total. So we did talk about the alto stop signs. Let's see if we can kind of confirm this with maybe the sun. So yeah, again, Spanish. Sun is to the south, and let's go with Mexico. And I like the Mexico guess, and that was excellent. We'll press number 1 to say good job to our opponent. That was one where just knowing that new region for us really paid off. So we learned about the alto stop, and that helped us there. So let's take a quick look at that. So if you're new with me, one of the things that we like to do is click on this history button, and this will show us the last few games that were played. Let's take a look at the first game as well, because those are really the ones we want to be learning. So we've lost now twice, 2 rounds on Russia, and I think it's probably time for us to separate Russia out from the rest of Europe. So I think in the next episode we'll talk more about that. Some of the big clue for me, aside from just the vibe, like we're in this colder place and it looks I don't want to. It looks a little rundown, I guess, not too bright in colors, but this long license plate with no blue indications that they're part of the EU. So that's going to be the big clue, one of the big clues that we use to differentiate Russia. We'll probably, for most of those, click close to Moscow. And then we had Peru here. So yeah, don't get thrown off. So I mentioned right before we started, if we find a country, I know Paris is the city, but it's pretty, I think most people can point out Paris on a map. If they can find France, then they can definitely find Paris. But here these are the things we need to practice is, okay, we have that there, but look at everything else. So we have the Spanish, we have, it says Lima there, so that should have been a big clue for us. I didn't quite look at that. We have the small license plates, Spanish, and then the sun in the north. So none of that lines up for France or Paris. So use some common sense when you're using those signs as clues. So let's go back to the main menu. We'll click on history again and look at the last game. Okay, so first round was Norway. So we're getting a few rounds that throw us for a little bit of loops. So these yellow lines, at first you might think, oh, this is going to be the U.S. or the Americas. I was going to say U.S. or Canada because that's kind of more what this looks like. But one thing that is not as common in the Americas are these bollards. So you don't. I was hoping to get close to one. Let me bring that back up again so I can just zoom in on it rather than trying to get real close. So on the side of the road, these bollards are much more common in Europe, and one of the things that we will be doing is going through each of the country's bollards as we get to each country. We briefly mentioned the UK's today, but you don't see these as often in the Americas. And then what else to say about that? Oh, the long license plates. So yeah, we found those long license plates. The one in the back is actually easier to see than the front, which is odd, but yep. So that was a Europe guess. Again, this is a common thing that we've been seeing is people trying to get the exact right country. And I'm telling you, at this level, focus on getting the continent. And then as you learn specific countries and you have those specific clues to tell you that you're in that country, then guess the country. Otherwise, kind of hedge in the middle if you're unsure. Here we had, we had a few Mexicos. How did we determine this was Mexico? The bollards. I don't remember. And after I say those aren't as common in the Americas, we did run into some bollards, and we happened to have just seen them. We also said the sun was in the south, and so I really don't blame our opponent for guessing here in Indonesia. I don't think it's a fantastic guess, but not horrible. And then so we have this lot to go over in this round. So Ghana, let's take a look at this one. So I mentioned that this was a special car. So this is gonna seem, the first time that I learned about this, I thought it was the kind of most ridiculous thing ever. But the entire country was covered with this car. And on this car, there is this black piece of tape on the bars that hold the camera up. If you want to use that going forward, go for it. I'm going to avoid it until our opponents start recognizing it. But that is probably one of the most famous meta clues that exists in the game is this black tape. Like literally, let me see if I can bring up the map and do a. I'm just going to put our little guy on a random road in Ghana, look down, and we're going to find that tape. So throughout the entire country, that tape is going to be there. When you get up into if you ever play the no move pan or zoom, then you really have to start paying more attention to what the country looks like. I think it is important for us to kind of recognize what different parts of Africa looks like, even though most of those Central African countries have those types of meta clues that give it away. But what else do I want to say about that? So there are like 6 countries in Central Africa that have coverage. So Senegal, Ghana, and Nigeria on the west, and then Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda on the east. And most players, especially new players, are just not going to recognize them. So our Africa guess is fine for now. This was 100 points even with the multiplier, so not a big deal. We will get to all of those Central Africa countries though. So here we're in Europe. I think we pointed out all the European clues. We should learn the domain names at some point. I don't recall where we found that, but there was a sign that had the .hu. So that was a good clue for our opponent to find Hungary and then put it in the right place. But other than that, pretty typical Europe. And then finally we had Mexico again. And here we found a sign. Okay, alto total, so completely stop. And I feel like they clicked fairly quickly, so we did find the sun, maybe? We did see that the sun was to the south, so that ruled out South America. But here in this game we had 2 instances where our opponent missed the entire continent. So yeah, let's keep playing. We'll play at least 2 more. So we're 50-50 on mostly knowing the continent and then a few smaller regions. This person's played quite a bit. All right, so we have English on these signs, we have small license plates, and we have sun in the north. Okay, so we need to take a closer look and figure out, are we in Oceania or are we in South Africa? So we have all white lines and the small license plates. Let's go. So I think we're doing over here on the New South Wales. So there are some other clues that could get us closer, but that one is going to be good enough here. So I will show you the clue that would have gotten you to South Australia there. All right, let's see. We have a colder climate. We have I think sun in the south, and then we have long license plates. So let's just put it in Europe. Yeah, so Latin letters that aren't English. And our opponent is trying to find a good place for this. And they were able to get the country. No, they were not. They were actually in Denmark. So let's see. We have, looks like long license plates. Sun in the south. So here's the compass. Can we tell what side of the road we're driving on? Looks like the right side. Some language here. And we'll do our Europe guess. So this is an American player, but you will run, it is a very popular game in Europe, and it may feel at first like you're just losing the European rounds. As an American, I just think it's harder to guess them. Interesting guess there, in the middle of the sea. So Turkey was one that we could go either way on. We didn't look that hard. Okay, lots of motorcycles. We got some language up here. So we have this language with the line over the top. If we remember from our previous, the Indian languages with lines on the top were more northern India, so we'll put it there. And hopefully our hedge will work there. I'm willing to bet that our guy will get India. Something a little fishy going on here, but we'll see. We're closer. Okay. It's odd that their marker always shows up on that 00, but let's see. So we have Latin letters. Can't quite make out the language. Probably Spanish. Let's take maybe not. A lot of motorcycles. We have, this is kind of like a longer plate, so I think I'm going to rule out the Americas here. And this really reminds me more of Southeast Asia. The motorcycles, we have Latin letters that are not English. There is some English. They're not Spanish though, I don't think. So let's give it our, I think this is currently our Southeast Asia guess. What else do we see here? So again, the motorcycles everywhere. They're trying to figure it out, and they're going India, Nepal, India, and we were good with that guess there, and that is going to be the game. So yeah, that, what else to say about that? Let's take a look. Continue history, see how this game went. So Australia, let's look at this. So this poll is great. So they have a very unique utility pole, and it's like concrete in the middle and this metal on the outside. That is unique to Southern Australia, and you can see it was there. There are a few different poles in the country of Australia, that at some point will help us figure out which state we're in, or if we're in New Zealand, and that's one of them. So we saw when we were back on the road. Let me see if I can get back out there. We're just going through the parking lot, but the sun was in the north, so that got us out of North America, and then the road lines were all white. So the one place where you might confuse this with, knowing just that the sun is in the north and that there's English, is South Africa. But in South Africa, they would have yellow lines on the outside and then white in the middle. In Australia, they're all white. So just a recap on that one. Then we had Sweden. Yeah, pretty typical Europe. At some point, we're gonna separate out Scandinavia so that we can make some better guesses there. But colder climate, long license plate, sun in the south. Europe. Turkey. We didn't look hard enough at this one. So but we would have guessed Europe anyways because we have those long plates. We have the sun in the south. Let's see if we can find some language maybe. I think we're going to be in luck up here. So one of the easiest ways to tell Turkey is by the letter I. So as you can see, like all of these letters are capitalized and the I has the dot on top. That is unique to Turkey. So Turkey is going to be one of those countries that we separate out fairly quickly and figure out and guess Turkey rather than does it look more European or Middle Eastern. So and we'll be able to gain some points there. But currently, yeah, we're losing quite a few points on Russia and Turkey when our opponents can identify those. So those might be on the priority list here. So we talked about India in the last episode, and we found some writing fairly quickly. Let me see if I can go back. And I was looking over there. Oh, here we go. So the scripts with the line over the top tend to be more common in the north of the country. So typically, if a lot of new players will just put it in the middle. So we can gain some edge there by putting it in the north. Our opponent put it too far north, but I think that was probably a fine hedge from them. So that was that, and then man, I'm glad we separated out India and Southeast Asia because once we found all the clues here, it was a pretty easy Southeast Asia. So we had the Latin letters and not necessarily, so some English but not Spanish. And then we have these long license plates, and which would take us out of the Americas. And then we did have some tropical here. So Southeast Asia, not Indian script. Yeah, so that was a good game. Let's do one more game and call it a day. So here we go. And we are staying right out of that double promotion zone, so I'm happy about that. Okay, we talked about these green and yellow tuk-tuks. We also have that blur in the previous episode. And if we could find some language, so we are in India, and then we confirm that with this language here. So let's give it that northern hedge. So up here. And here our opponent is zooming in. And I don't know, so it looks like they're from Turkey. I don't know that it's very common for people in Turkey to be able to read Indian, or Hindi. They were closer, but they had that good hedge. I was hoping that us being able to do that would be more productive than it is. So octagon pole, but this immediately doesn't feel like Mexico, which is disappointing because I was really hoping to. Oh, we got some Mexico examples right off the bat. That plate looks a little bit longer. So there, we have a Ukrainian flag, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything these days because of the war over there. We see Ukrainian flags throughout the world. We definitely have those long plates. We do have Cyrillic, so Ukraine might not be a terrible guess here, but as a new player, we have not learned that yet. So I think we can do our European guess and see how we do. And they go Romania, and it is Ukraine. So that happens. We're going to lose some of those ones on the outskirts of Europe. All right, now, okay, we have sun. It's right on the border. I don't know that that's going to be extremely useful to us. Let's see if we have. So we have some tuk-tuks, which there are a few places where that is common. Trying to. So this is going to be Peru, but I want to find some clues that are unique to South America that we talked about. Okay, sun is still in the north. Okay, we have, so Spanish here. We have, sun is still right on the border. And we don't see a lot of those clues that we talked about for Mexico. So those black things on the roof, I haven't seen a stop sign yet. But any other clues that we may get here? So again, the sun is not always accurate on where it is, especially on the edge here. So if we're within the tropics, we're going to have a difficult time distinguishing North and South America by the sun. So it looks like our opponent has figured out Peru. This might be the second one in today's episode where we miss Peru. And they got it, and they got a pretty good score, and that'll be the game. So we'll say good job to our opponent, good game. And we'll stay just under that promotion zone. So yeah, today was good. We had a few rounds where we were able to identify Mexico and didn't have to click in the middle of the United States when it was clearly Mexico. We didn't see the UK, which is a little disappointing. It seems that we get one country or the other. But yeah, we're slowly building up those skills. So yeah, new player, I don't want you to worry about getting that country. I want you to worry about getting the continent and then the region. And then if we have like really specific clues, then let's get the country. But it looked like a few of our opponents had learned some of those bigger countries that show up frequently, and we're just going to slowly start adding them. And as we add them, we'll get better and better. But we're not doing too bad. So we have 14 out of 14 games played this week. We have 8 wins, and that's almost enough to get us double promoted. Let's scroll down and see what it takes to stay. So it looks like if you have 2 wins this week, you're going to be promoted to Silver 3. For some reason, the Silver divisions, the interest in the game slows down for players. So the requirements to get promoted just aren't as high. So if you recall, in the previous week, we needed 3 or 4. We needed at least 4 wins to get promoted. Yeah, this one person had, so a few people didn't get promoted with 3 wins. But if you play well enough, and I think we did 1 episode where we just guessed the continent, and then 2 episodes where we had a few regions to help us out. That was more than enough to get us there. So I'll probably not look at it this weekend and do another episode on Monday. But this should be enough to get us promoted. So we are definitely not in danger of not getting promoted. So if you learned something today, or if you liked this video and didn't learn anything, then that's fine too. But if you did learn something, I'd really appreciate it if you gave me a like, and if you really liked it, if you gave a subscribe, that would be great too. And we'll see you in the next episode.